Welcome to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Today we will take a closer look at all the graphic settings for Battlegrounds and we will adjust them so that you can increase your chances of having a chicken dinner. In other words, we will be looking at the best settings so that you can have the advantage over everybody else. This is how the game looks on Ultra settings. I chose this scene because it is very easy to spot the differences of all the graphic settings. I'm running Battlegrounds on a single GTX 1080. All the frame rate references that I make in this video are for that graphics card and right now I'm getting 60 frames per second. This video is not about the frame rates, but I will mention it so that you will have an idea about what you might get with a similar graphics card. On Ultra settings you can see a lot of foliage and the shadows are pretty dark. There is also a big difference between the brightest part and the darkest part, which is great for hiding but it's not so great when you're trying to spot your enemy. If a guy is lying down and he is not moving, then it would be pretty difficult to see him, especially when you're running. Let's first check out what the game looks like on very low settings. So welcome back to the 90s. This is what most games looked like back then. It's a pretty big change and I really hope that nobody has to play Battlegrounds like that. As you can see, everything is washed out. There isn't a big difference anymore between the brightest part and the darkest part, and the foliage is down to 10% of what it used to be. On top of that, the wall on the right just looks terrible. The only good thing is that you get 130 frames per second. This change was a little bit too extreme, so let's go back to Ultra settings and we will start from there. Okay, we're back where we started. Before we change the settings, let's see if the screen scale will give us an advantage. Increasing the screen scale should make the game look more visually appealing, but it will also affect your performance. If you set this to 120, then it should look nicer and it should be easier to spot everything. I don't know about you, but I couldn't really see the difference, so I used Photoshop to zoom in on certain parts, but the differences are negligible. It's not going to help you get that chicken dinner. On top of that, your frames per second will drop to 44. So let's put it back to 100 and we will leave it there. Changing the anti-aliasing from ultra to low only shows a few stair-step like lines while they should be smooth, so leave it on ultra. Post-processing is a quality improvement and changing this to very low will make the game look washed out, and it's definitely not a pleasant gaming experience. You could argue that it might be more clear to see your enemy, but it isn't, because everything will look washed out, including your enemy. So again, leave it on ultra. There must be an easier way to spot your opponents, and that's why we're going to change the shadows to very low. This is a big change and it will definitely give you an advantage. The first thing that you will notice is that this setting removes all the dark spots from the foliage. In other words, all the shadows are gone from the foliage, so if there's a guy hiding in there and he's wearing dark clothes, then you will be able to spot him immediately. The shadows from the trees and the one from the structure on the right are a lot brighter now. This will give you the same advantage. On top of that, the shadow of the structure has bright lines running through it and it will light up an enemy who thinks that it's a good idea to lie down over there. It will be super easy to spot that guy. So change the shadows to very low and you will have a massive advantage. Changing this setting also increased your frames per second and you will now get 74 frames instead of only 60. For now I will put the shadows back to ultra so that we can compare every graphic setting individually. Against my better judgment, I changed the textures to very low and all of a sudden we're back to the 90s. This is not going to help you in any way, so leave it on ultra. I also tried changing the effects to very low, but the game doesn't allow you to do that in game. So I checked it out later, but the difference isn't worth it. So leave this one on ultra as well. The next thing that we're going to do is to change the foliage to very low. And wow, what a difference. There is no place to hide anymore. Looks like somebody removed almost all of the grass. It's down to less than 10% of what it used to be, and no matter what the enemy is wearing, you will be able to spot him. The advantage is pretty clear, but there's also a downside. Where are you going to hide? In a bald spot or in the area where there's still a little bit of grass left? The answer is both. As you can see, there is a lot less grass next to the structure and next to the fence, same as how it would be in real life. So just use common sense and most of the time you'll be lying in perfect cover. Changing this setting gave us an extra 4 to 5 frames. Turning on the motion blur is always a bad idea, so let's not even go there. Let's take a look at what we just discovered. If you want to have the advantage over everybody else, then you should change the shadows to very low and you should also change the foliage to very low. We started on ultra and now we ended up with this. Overall, it's a super clear view of the world around you and you won't have any difficulties anymore with spotting your enemy, no matter how good this camo is. We removed the shadows because it removed the darker parts and we reduced the foliage by more than 90%. Not only is it now easier to see an enemy who is lying down, it's also easier to look over the hill, because the grass isn't blocking a part of your view anymore. There is a downside, and you should really keep it in mind. These settings make it easier for you to see the enemy. It doesn't make it easier for you to hide yourself from him. That is why I recommend you to play the game once or twice with everything on ultra. Try to get an idea of where the game will put a shadow, or try to see where the foliage is more dense. Try to hide yourself there so that you can get an idea of what the other guys might see. Because when you use the recommended settings, then you will have to guess a little bit. Because you will be never 100% sure of how well you are hidden. But as soon as you understand how the graphics work in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, then you're all set for that chicken dinner. You will be able to see the enemy, but he won't be able to see you, and that's exactly what we wanted. As an extra bonus, you will now get 80 frames per second, so the game should be a lot smoother than when it was at 60. If you want to increase your chances even more, then check out this tips and tricks video. By the way guys, the YouTube likes and shares are very helpful to me. If you think that this video is worthy, would you mind taking a moment to like this video and to share it with all your buddies? This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching, and I will see you in Battlegrounds.